Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth is provided by Cashfly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is TWiT Photo with Catherine Hall and Leo Laporte, episode number 66, recorded on July 17th, 2012, with Pixel Perfect Elevendy.
It's time for TWiT Photo. Catherine Hall is here, and I'm sad. I have to...
Oh, Leo.
This is our last TWiT Photo.
Our last TWiT Photo.
But you are going to continue on with a new show called Photography Unfiltered.
Yes, I am.
So I'm sorry that we're losing you here at TWiT, but I'm very happy.
I'm sorry to be lost.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. But I'm very happy that you're going to keep doing it.
I am very happy.
So you can subscribe, folks, on iTunes. If you search for Photography Unfiltered, you've got a kind of a starter feed. There's no show in there yet.
There's one audio show, but it's like a literally just 5 minutes introduction on what the show is, what to expect, when to expect it.
And for those of you who currently subscribe to the TWiT Photo feed, I think we know of a way. It's worked before.
Just in case, you might want to subscribe.
Yeah, but in theory, the subscription will just move over to the new feed. So you will actually continue to get shows in your TWiT Photo feed. The best thing to do, though, from Catherine's point of view and for everybody, is so that we can get Catherine to #1 on the iTunes list, is to subscribe to Photography Unfiltered.
Yes.
And then if everybody subscribes to that, you'll be #1, and everybody will be able to find you. So that's a really good way to do it.
And that was the thing. We put the show up. We wanted to make sure it was up for the last show so that you guys don't miss anything. So subscribe now. It's free, just like TWiT Photo. And it's in iTunes. The audio version's in iTunes, and we'll be coming out with the video version once we release the first full show.
And if you go to photographyunfiltered.com, is it dash?
Dash.
Photography-unfiltered.com. Everything will be there. You'll be able to go there and find the show, sign up for the emails so you can get on the mailing list, and subscribe to the podcast and all that. Photography-unfiltered.com.
Yeah, and thank you for following me along to the next adventure.
Please do. I will be, certainly. And also, Catherine's website, always a good place to go, catherinehall.net, and her blog is on there. And
keep it simple, stupid.
Keep it simple, stupid. Keep it simple, stupid. What is this?
So I decided my tip is going to be a little different. Instead of showing a photograph, I'm going to give a tip on model releases. And the reason why is I did them wrong for a long time. I used the standard Getty, ASMP, regular releases.
Right.
And
what could be wrong with that?
That's what one would think, right? You think, oh, I'm doing these long, lengthy releases, and I'll definitely be protected. But if you don't understand the language, which most of us don't, it's not just the models that don't understand it, it's us too. Right. You could be using them incorrectly. So for example, in all of the standard stock releases, it says for consideration.
Which means I gave you $1.
Yeah.
Right.
But I didn't know that, and a lot of photographers don't know that. Right. And so I have all these releases, which are great and all, but they're not, if I didn't pay the model, it wouldn't stand up in the court of law. Right. So one of the things that doing top model release, making the app that I created, that I learned and just doing a lot of research is that it's actually in a lot of ways better just to do a simple model release. Just two lines.
All that long stuff is...
Yeah, the long stuff can actually make it harder to stand up in a court of law because you're excluding things when you're making these long lists. And then you're also setting up criteria that if you don't follow, then it's not legal.
Like for consideration.
So you could do a release such as, I consent to be photographed on Tuesday by Catherine Hall, and further authorize the photographs may be published by in any form. For any purpose. For any purpose. And that's it.
One sentence, two sentences. That's it.
And so
you'd have been better off had you used that all this time.
Yeah, and the source that I really want to direct people to, hello.
There it is.
Bert Kradges, he helped me a lot with the app legal advisement, but he has a book on this, and he's great. He's the one lawyer that I found that actually simplifies things instead of making them more complicated. And he's the one that advised using simple releases and has helped me. And it's so much easier to get a simple release from a client.
Yeah, they don't want to have to read 4 pages.
Well, and it's threatening, and they're less likely to sign.
What am I agreeing to? Yeah.
So, disclaimer, obviously, if you're working with a stock agency and you have a specific purpose and you need a particular release with the company you're working with, you need to use those releases. However, if you're doing personal work or you don't know the end goal, it's sometimes a lot better just to get a simple release, and it will potentially be better protection for you in the long run.
And if you use Catherine's app, Top Model Release, you have a Getty approved release.
Yeah, so because we wanted the app to be Getty approved, we needed to use Getty releases, but the easiest thing, you can just create a custom release.
Oh, you don't have to, you can actually make a custom release in there. Oh, that's
yeah,
neat.
and then for me, I have simple adult minor and simple adult,
So you could paste those into Top Model Releases and use that as your default, unless you knew it was going to be so good.
Yeah.
So everything you need to know at catherinehall.net/blog, how to create the model release, a sample release, and of course a link to her app, Top Model Releases, which you should have too. There it is, catherinehall.net/blog. So we are going to do a return.
Yes, we are. This is our first kind
I'm excited about this.
This is part 2.
But you may remember we had these guys on from Elevendy. Is it .net?
No.
.com.
Oh, no.
No?
.com, oh, well, excuse me, I have a .net.
I know.
Watch out.
I know.
Dave Cox and Will Wells are back.
It wasn't by choice.
Now, for those who don't remember, we went up, we got out in the front hall and we posed for a movie poster. Catherine's hair was blowing with an actual leaf blower.
That was an actual leaf blower. One of the top tools of the trade, might I add.
Look at how on it Tony Wang is.
This was the original.
Oh, it's upside down. There we go.
He saved this.
That was the thought. That was the concept.
Right.
Yes.
It's
so this is me and Leo, and we weren't. For those of you who want to look back at the episode, they didn't actually. I didn't get to stand next to Leo for the shot. They separated us. So anyway, this is a reveal to keep you tuned in till the rest of the show.
All right.
Something we don't even know about.
We haven't seen it. We don't know, but I'm hoping we'll get to see it.
They say there's a surprise.
Well, like most photos that we take, it starts out at that concept phase, and it usually ends up being very different in the end when we have something that's not set in stone with an art director, when we have the ability to do whatever we want, put it wherever we want, whenever we want. It can modify quite a bit.
If you go to their website, ELEVENDY, not T, but dy.com, you'll see you do stuff for our games.
Oh, yeah.
You do stuff for magazines, for editorial. You do a broad variety of stuff. But it's almost always composite, right?
Yeah, pretty much. That's pretty much our main style. The actual word for it is key art.
It's key art.
Key art.
Okay.
It's the key art for any type of release, from movies and television to video games, that kind of stuff. We're working with, I think we showed you last time, the Sacramento Kings. He's even now doing some key art for their major ad campaigns and that kind of stuff. So
that was the one with the sword and the fighting dragons, and that was really cool.
Yeah, well, they're great clients because they are people that really get into the whole entire creative process in a good way. They do the thing where we say, hey, this would look really cool, and they go, oh my gosh, that would look really cool. Let's turn it up even another level and do something even cooler. So they push it further, which is always the hope for any shot that we're doing.
Anytime the client comes and says, Game of Thrones, and you just go, oh, thank God. Yes.
My concept is the Lord of the Rings meets the Hobbit. So, in fact, on the front page, you have samples, including a really great one from Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell.
Yeah, that's
the Blacklist.
That's a.
So that's not. See, I always thought that was a drawing, but this is a composite with a photo in it.
So we actually did 2 for Splinter Cell. I got it up on my screen here right now. The cool thing about Splinter Cell, working in tandem with our partners at Ubisoft Creative on all these.
This is a photo?
This is a mix between 3D photography, like the skin texture is a mix of different patches of photos, and then we draw in a lot of the pores. The background is real. The textures on the suit, they're all real. The textures on the knife, they're all real. The plane is real.
I'm flying the plane.
So this is an example of us getting way out of control. The next shot we did, this is a little more toned down, a lot more photography elements. So the background is with the exception of the gun rack and the television, that's all photography.
Wow.
And we take all this and we morph it into one photo. So the back of this plane is probably about 40 different reference shots of different kinds of planes, from C-17s to Onatops, and all put together in one. And then we went behind our office, and with our trusty wind blower, once again, we shot cargo netting, and that's what's flapping. So we really shoot all this stuff and put it together in the end. So it's a fun process.
Now, can I just ask you, why don't they just hire an illustrator to just draw this?
because this looks really cool. They do in a lot of cases.
I mean, I assumed it was illustrated.
Yeah, well,
I'm not saying it doesn't look really cool, but that seems like a lot of work.
And we work with illustrators a lot of the time.
Do you think it gives a better result?
Well, it depends the style you're going for, because a lot of the stuff you'll see in gaming especially, they'll take real photos and they'll do what's called a paint over.
Even in the game?
Well,
even the textures in the game, though.
Textures in the game, yeah, a lot of those are real photos. But as far as the key art goes that's on the cover of these things, they'll take a real photo. It's a real person. Then they'll usually take it into Photoshop and do a little bit of liquefying just to kind of make the face a little more exaggerated. Then they'll take the pen tool and throw it on a Wacom and they'll paint this kind of surreal texture. So in this case, we do have a lot of real elements that we've done paint overs on, and that's a lot of what you'll see in key art, where it's this hyper-realism look where you go, I don't know if that's a real photo or not. We kind of go in that midpoint between the reality and the painting.
How do you know where to the balance? You know, how much is real, how much is not? Where do you find that line?
If you find out, you let us know. Honestly, it can be tough.
No magic line.
Yeah, there's with Ubisoft, we're obviously working with their art directors, and so we have a bunch of rounds where we go back and forth with, you know, them giving different direction, and it's, you know, twist the knife like that, and twist it like this, and twist it like that. So there's a lot of little things where we're doing these tweaks and changes to the nth degree, and then, you know, mixing it with kind of the illustrated style. It's more just almost to a preference or a taste of kind of what you feel is right.
Yeah, eventually you look back on some things and you go, wow, we did a lot of paint over on that. That's amazing. And then, I don't know, our style always evolves, and I think that's the great thing about what we do, because it's always challenging us to learn something new, where usually we want to, like I think I said last time, we want to create something that we've never actually seen ourselves, and that's why we usually are the people that people will hire for really outlandish ideas. So we'll get done in a really exciting planning meeting with somebody, and we get back to the car and go, I don't know how we're going to do this.
We scare the crap out of ourselves, like, no, we have to deliver.
Great, though. That must be exciting.
Oh, yeah, but when you pull it off, which eventually we find a way, it's so rewarding. It's great. It's finding a secret treasure.
Have you ever gotten yourself in a pickle where you feel like, wow, we've kind of overshot on this one?
Every job.
Yeah, there was this time we were on a really popular podcast, TWiT photo, and
we
had a shot to do, and we just oversold the crap out of it.
Well, I heard you shot it in JPEG too. What's up with that?
Damn you!
Making Leo a movie star was a big mistake. That's where it just can't be done. And I should have known. There's no action hero here. How many layers in that Splinter Cell image? I mean,
let me head back to the Splinter Cell image.
Did you do this in Photoshop, right?
This is, well, it's a mix between a whole lot of different stuff. So the torso was done in Maya. The hands were done in 3D Studio Max.
What? Wait, aren't they the same tool, basically, just different companies?
No, but because we're working in partnership with a lot of people that have different elements, so we're taking some existing elements and we're having to retweak them, do new renders on them.
So the torso was done by one company in Maya, and somebody else was 3D Studio.
So the torso was created by a fantastic company called Digic, who actually worked on the trailer for Splinter Cell. So we took the torso and we just kind of had our way with it, but that was actually done in Maya. So everything else we ended up really shooting, but we add textures to it just because you can have a trailer like they did. They did a fantastic job modeling everything, but it was done for 1080, a resolution where
that sounds high on the screen, but it's terrible for
with print. With print, it just doesn't work out, and we need to have something that we can do building wraps with this because it's a major release. So we actually go into those models and we res them up even more, which is pretty crazy.
What do you use to?
Good question, you two.
There's a lot of really great software out there.
Use a fractal tool, or?
When we usually on the print end, they'll handle resing up if it's a flattened object. When we res up, we actually take the Photoshop PSD, or PSB is what we're working in most of it because it's large format.
Big.
Yeah, Photoshop big.
Nice. I like it.
And we'll take that, and if we have something that's 2,000 pixels wide, we will up the size and we will retexture everything. And a lot of the time we're working with 15,000 pixel wide pictures in 300 DPI. To get these things, when you blow them up, we want them crystal clear. There's a lot of instances of movies where you'll see the artwork really close up, and you go, "Oh,
yeah,
that far from good, but or good from far, but far from good." That's kind of the. So we want that whole entire thing. I'm sure it's been said before. But we want it to be crystal clear at all the time, so we get these huge, massive files.
When you say add texture, what does that mean exactly?
So, for instance, let me bring up this last Splinter Cell. So this was for the company GameStop that actually did the pre-release sales of Splinter Cell. This was for their actual release. So we have this suit. At the time, we didn't have the high poly version of the suit, so a lot of polygons in it, so really smooth. So we actually had to do paint over on this entire suit. So this is pretty much us doing painting over real photos. So we take pictures of real textures, in this case, Kevlar and carbon fiber, and we take those textures, and once we've made something bigger, we'll take that Kevlar texture and throw it using a lot of different overlay layers, which we'll be looking at a little bit later today. Overlay layers like multiply, overlay, screen, all these things. And that's how we get these little bit of details in the armor, those little dots that really add realism to everything, not just flatness.
So you have a whole texture library, you just go out and shoot?
It's pretty large. It's, honestly, when we throw something in the Photoshop, it's kind of the lifeblood of how we can get something to look the way it does. It's, it's actually pretty fun shooting all these things.
Oh, yeah.
We'll go out to the parking lot and we'll shoot bricks, exploding, fireworks, a lot of water, a lot of dirt.
Yeah. Shoot rotting.
It reminds me a lot of how movie sound is done, you know?
It's absolutely the same way, but we'll shoot everything against a black screen so we can do alpha channels. And this is
it's found
same thing
objects,
with the.
right?
That's exactly what it is. So when we rarely ever have a day off, but a lot of the time we'll send Alice, our intern, to go out and just shoot assets for us, where she's just getting real textures and real things that we can alpha channel on top of things.
Give me a tip for people, because I think there are some people, I do this, if I see an interesting texture or gravel or cement, I'll just snap it because I think that might be useful at some point.
Oh, yeah.
How should we shoot it? What do you recommend for its maximal utility down the road?
Trying to expose it evenly, where you don't totally get rid of your black levels and you don't overexpose it to where you lose that detail. I would say the biggest tip with shooting textures is just to know what to look for. One of my favorite textures for zombies, for instance, is rotting pears.
Fantastic.
Rotting pears, when you take that
you
texture,
get maggots in there too.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
When you start getting those holes in there and that really great rotting texture, and you throw it over somebody's skin with multiply, you just can't beat it. It's fantastic.
Remember that, folks. Rotting pears multiply.
Yep.
Well, actually, yeah, speaking of skin, I would imagine that would be one of the more tricky things is finding textures that work well with skin.
Always.
Yeah.
What are some good examples of what people can use?
Skin. Really shooting skin.
Yeah.
Which we actually have a skin library as well. It sounds super weird, I know.
It sounds dirty.
But that's what we call it, the skin library. We have a library of just different types of skin. This is cuts, bruises, large pores, tight pores, because you'll be doing a face. We're working on a title for Nintendo right now called Zombie U, and we're going to be working with a lot of zombie things, and we're taking real 3D models, but we're having to res them up again. So we're using real skin textures. So the forehead is going to have, with most people, it's going to have tighter pores, but you get around the cheeks and the pores start opening up. So those need to be different than the pores that we're going to be putting on the neck.
You walk up to people and say, gee, you have interesting skin. Do you mind if I just take
Is that wrong?
Should we not be doing that?
No, I'm actually curious.
What's the model release look like for that?
We actually
Keep
use
it simple,
Catherine's
stupid
tool.
on it.
You
use your tool for
Do you
model
really?
release.
We actually have.
Yeah.
It's really fantastic. It's the last thing you think of, especially when you do something like us, where we're doing all this preparation, sketching, and having the source all these materials, shoot textures, and you get to the shoot, you go, oh, do you have the releases?
I do.
Wow, that's really cool.
Oh, very nice.
So, I am.
It works.
My pores will be used in all forms and all media, wherever, here and after.
Wait a minute, those are my pores. Those bastards.
You stole my pores!
My claim to fame.
Yeah, beautiful pores.
But yeah, actually going off what Leo said, whose pores do you shoot?
Our own.
Remember that shot that they did of us? I thought it was odd that they really zoomed in
Oh, do
Now I
you
know.
shoot our pours?
Pretty much since the last 2 months that we've been on the show, we've only used your pours for every single project.
I've never signed a model release.
You'll get credit on the Zombie U stuff for sure.
That's hysterical.
Excellent.
So yeah, I can even run through. We've done some random stuff since we were last on the show.
I like
so,
show and
let's
tell.
see.
These are we always end up doing super duper nerdy stuff. It seems,
Well,
which is
I've heard
great.
You've been called the nerdtographer.
Yes, this is true. it has happened.
Who's
So
this?
if you want to.
This is Seth Green and his wife, Claire Grant. Claire has a awesome group of gamer girls, geek and gamer girls, called Team Unicorn. And their site is teamunicornftw.com for the win. And obviously Seth Green.
Look at the sexy skin on her.
Seth Green fame, yeah. So we were actually shooting down in LA for the other nerd stuff we were doing, and had all these guns laying around, and thought, you know what, we should call these guys and give them their next Christmas card. So
That's their Christmas card.
This is actually their Christmas card. No,
I love it.
So guns hanging around, are these
a lot of guns,
Real guns.
always.
real guns?
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure.
Always real guns.
Well, not always. I mean, if we can, real guns, it's more authentic, and you have to Photoshop less of the little screw
do you
holes
think
out
the
and all that kind of
models
stuff.
actually feel you're using it with models or not with models?
Oh,
okay.
it makes me horrendously uncomfortable.
But do you think they
I
feel
don't like guns at
more,
all.
like,
I think they get more
Like
into it.
adrenaline?
Badass,
I
yeah,
mean,
absolutely.
Wouldn't you, if you're
Yep.
holding a plastic gun, it's kind of hard to pull
It's
out the
tough
attitude.
to, you know, when you have a giant like submachine gun that you're trying to hold and your
So
muscles
how do
are
you
not
get, like,
They're
popping.
really
fancy
heavy.
licenses for all these guns? I mean, where do you get these guns?
Well, that's for a different show, probably.
A lot of the time with any kind of guns like that, we do tweak them a little bit
Yeah.
to be a little over the top. So a lot of the time, a gun that we started with is never the gun that we actually shot.
Got it.
Yeah.
Right. But when we're shooting with guns, never any ammunition. I mean, they're legally borrowed or stolen, and you know, there's no ammo anywhere within a mile of us that is belonging to us, anyways. Maybe
We
we're
actually
just
had one of my favorite kinds of days the other day where we went sword shopping. And
That was fun.
Sword shopping day is just always a blast.
What do you look
Yeah.
for when you're sword shopping?
Swords that we've never seen before. We're into, of course, having a stockpile of textures and all that fun stuff. We also like having a stockpile of costumes and weaponry.
Yep.
So we actually found a place that has really fantastic throwing knives for super cheap, and we bought a bunch of them. And
Yeah.
we had throwing knife day yesterday. It was very fun.
We tested those out in the new office.
Where is this place to buy throwing knives?
It's actually at Denio's auction in Roseville, California,
it's
Northern
like a
California
big
area.
Now we know I live in
Man.
Sacramento because
yeah.
that's where the great guns and
Fantastic
knives are.
throwing knives. Yeah,
guns and
apparently.
knives. Yeah. If you can't afford a place in Fresno.
Yeah,
you
and
wanna move to
so
Roseville.
kind of toned down as far as other stuff we've done. This is an example of a. This isn't an example. It is a shot that we did for a company called California Family Fitness, where once again they wanted to do something a little different. So the whole entire idea of these shots is, you know, where you're going.
Right. You're at the
From
gym
where you are.
on a stationary bicycle,
But
but
in
what
your
you're really
mind,
doing
yep.
is riding the mountains.
Exactly. Or what you do in here prepares you for what you're going to do
Yeah.
out there.
And
kind of
this is
thing.
another one of those great examples of texture shooting day where we went and we threw dirt up in the air and mud for 2 hours. And eventually it became that little blip of dirt that's flying out.
Oh, that's so funny. Now, how about the mountains? Did you use stock photos for that, or do you go to the Matterhorn?
No, those are, when it comes to places that we can't necessarily travel to, Google has a really great Creative Commons search tool for images where you can go and find images that you can just use willy-nilly. We're not opposed to using sites like iStock Photo either to get those high resolution shots, because sometimes Creative Commons just doesn't have the quality that you need for things like this. And then aside from that, we're just always shooting. We're always getting assets. We're always hoping to go on that trip and see the cool stuff. So a camera goes with us on every single vacation trip, business trip that we go on.
What's your like 3 major asset libraries besides skin?
The major asset libraries are metal and scratches. Those always end up on guns. Even when we really shoot guns, wear and tear is just always a big deal, that these people have been using these weapons, and it shows experience.
Dirt.
So, yeah, dirt, because
Do you
dirt.
specialize in the dirt shots?
I'm a professional dirt thrower, also snow throwing.
Oh, excellent.
Snow can.
Once
Yeah,
you get one, it's often very easy to just move to the second medium.
Yeah, you have to figure out kind of what the texture is.
Yeah.
and
Yep.
your-
Dave is pretty much also, aside from gathering textures, he's been everything under the sun, from a zombie to a Liger to an alien to a
black
robot.
man.
Yeah, it's
I run the
been just incredible the amount of things that Dave has been in test shoots. This next piece is a segue into kind of our next portion. This is a
Nerdist.
Yeah, so we just...
Damn him. How come Chris Hardwick gets all the good stuff?
Get off my show.
Get off my
He's
show.
a generous lover.
That is great. That is awesome.
So Allison Hayslip and Isaiah Mustafa. Allison actually just started a new podcast with Alex Albrecht called 4 Points, which is on Nerdist channel. Go check it out. Super duper geeky. Good stuff. But we worked with Allison and both Isaiah before, and we
saw the pictures
we
last
adore
time you were
them.
on. The great pictures of Isaiah.
Not only just wonderful people to work with, they just know how to emote. They're just fantastic people, really just generous and kind, and so it's always a pleasure when we can get together and do some weird stuff.
Yeah, so we did a whole, basically an illustrated comic series. I don't know if you have them all in here?
Yeah.
Yeah. So going through basically the story of Jane Bond 008, like we talked about last time, the different scenes, and now this is kind of the bringing in her cohorts into a new storyline kind of a thing.
So doing a key art poster for each one of them, kind of introducing their characters.
Look at that.
Isaiah is the Bond girl who's scared to work a shotgun for the very first time because he's busy with sciencey stuff.
Yeah.
I've never seen Isaiah with glasses on.
Yeah, no,
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I said, nuclear physicist / Danny Glover from Lethal Weapon.
Lethal Weapon,
Yeah.
And he nailed Danny Glover's outfit completely, which is fantastic. Chris as kind of our Q, our master of gadgetry.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yep. And I think on Nerdist they captioned this as Chris Hardwick, guy with a watch.
Yeah.
And Zachary Levi.
Zachary Levi from Chuck, actually playing Chuck. So this is taking him out of that, wholesome good guy role and putting him into the international jewel thief role.
Love them. They must be fun for them too.
We
Play
hope so.
counter type
Yeah.
and get to do something cool.
Absolutely.
And we always try to shoot people kind of opposite in what they do. If someone's known for being a good guy, we try to shoot them as a bad guy. If someone's known for sci-fi, we like to put them in old-fashioned stuff.
Right.
So the shoe that I loved the concept of this. It's basically totally ridiculous to have a knife that pops out of the heel button. But once again, very entertaining to do. So.
Lottie Lenya and Dr.
Meanwhile, while they're looking at the heel knife, Zach, evil international jewel thief, is breaking into the secret headquarters where the satellite diamond that can control the world is being contained.
Where is this storyline going to show up? Is this just fun?
just for fun.
You're seeing it, Leo.
The funny thing is, actually, when we release this on Nerdist, a lot of the comments people are talking about, get this on Kickstarter, let's get this thing made.
Yeah, get a
Nerdist was
movie.
just bought by Legendary.
Yeah.
So.
But obviously,
Stealing the jewel.
we have a ton of fun with these things. This was the first shot we thought of for this, and basically everything else kind of wound up around it. Once again, just what can we do that we've never seen in a photo?
So great. That is so great.
And
Details.
the cool thing about this shot, we're actually going to run through how we pulled this one off.
Oh, let's do it.
Yeah, so
let's do it.
the last one's kind of wrapping this whole entire setup.
Poor Chris. I think he lost a tooth there, it looks like.
It's Zach.
Oh, Zach, yeah.
Yeah, fantastic.
And then victory is ours. Yep.
So, switching off of that.
Let's pop into Microsoft Paint.
No!
So let me
Show how we do
open
the
up
magic.
Microsoft Paint.
Pixel by pixel.
Yeah, so I did a little bit of a breakdown for you just because I'm on a laptop, and this file would not actually open on this laptop if I were to open up the full version.
How big is this actual file?
This file is 8 gigs.
Wow.
How much RAM do you need to have to run an 8 gig file?
Well, right now, the machine that this was done on is 12 gigs of RAM.
So
the next one's 32, which helps, but we do a lot of 3D work, and so that's the reason we're kind of PC driven at the moment. Like we're not partial
tell me
to
about
PC.
that.
Yeah.
How do you do 3D work? Is Photoshop have a 3D capability, or?
Not that we use.
Do you mean
does, but
anaglyphic,
nobody,
red, green?
I'm
3D,
talking
or?
actually going into a 3D program. Just for instance, this car is.
Oh, you do a lot of models.
Yeah, we actually do models.
But eventually become 2D flattened.
Right.
You got it. And that's a great place to start. So
this car is not real.
Not real whatsoever.
For PCs, there's a lot more software available. But why
well,
would you choose a PC over a Mac in this situation?
In the 3D world,
this is going to light up.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, no kidding. And I don't want to start a Mac PC, but I love OS
honest.
10. I love OS 10. It's fantastic.
You can say you like Windows. It's okay.
I like them both, but they both have different utilities. With the stuff that we're doing, we like living in a PC world just because there's so much unity between the 3D work that we're doing, because we're using 3D Studio Max, which doesn't even exist on Mac.
So 3D Studio Max.
And being that we're working with game companies a lot, all those in-game models you see, most of the time, all that work is being done in 3D Studio Max. So we have to live in that world.
Got it.
And you have to kind of pick one.
Absolutely. Windows 7 has improved things a lot. And I'm getting pretty excited about Windows 8. But unfortunately, we have to stay in that world. And also, Mac just doesn't support the newest, latest, greatest video cards that are coming out.
Yeah. Right.
And when you live and die by the hours that are spent by your GPU and the rendering, doesn't matter if we like one operating system more than the other, we're going to go with the faster one.
What video cards do you, I mean, obviously you don't work in a laptop, you work at a desktop, and you're using Quadro cards?
We're using Quadros. We have a machine with a Quadro 6000, which is just fantastic for rendering, incredible multi-threaded rendering, where a lot of people use the argument that the Quadro cards, they're just GeForce cards with drivers put on them.
Drivers, yeah.
That's fine. It saves us time.
That's the point. Yeah, they're taking their existing hardware and tweaking it. You're paying a lot more, but it's really for you saves you money.
Incredible how much time it's saving us. Yeah. So in this case, we shot all these people. We had a sketch just like we did before. We'll sketch everything out and plan everything. Oh my gosh, how are we going to pull this off? Then we eventually get to the point where we get everybody together and we start shooting assets. So
again, windblower.
Always with the windblower.
How much direction are you giving her? What are you telling her in this situation?
Pretend you just saw a rotten pear with maggots.
Yeah.
And you're reaching for
it. So gross,
on your face.
Right? In this case, they knew exactly what the end scene was going to be because we gave them a sketch.
Again, like we talked about on the last show, we do everything pre-visualized.
And you're working with actors. I mean, this is what they do for a living. Especially nowadays, they're working on green screen sets a lot. They know how to pretend.
But what if you're not working with an actor? What would be some tips like for people to do that are just starting to
Oh man, it's really tough. We'll definitely have a dialogue with them a long time before we actually start shooting to get them loosened up. I mean, it's the typical radio thing: get them talking, and try to get them active and comfortable.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah. You gotta tell some jokes, get them loosened up, but it's really trippy. Most of the time, people really get into it, especially you put a weapon in their hands, and people are like, "Yeah, I'm Rambo."
Yeah,
it's great.
But
not everybody knows how to do it. That's when we have to go, okay, we're going to adjust this a little bit. And a lot of the time, it's not telling them what to do. It's reimagining what we can do with the shot that fits their personality more. And we actually try to go into that beforehand, where we know a person's personality and we'll rig the shot. If somebody's really shy, bashful, it's samurai time. You're going to be focused and calm and not emote a lot. And we'll try to put them more in that role.
And sometimes if they're just not getting the pose, we'll actually get in there and pose for them and say, listen, this is exactly what we want you to do. And sometimes they're still so rigid that they just don't understand, and we'll actually go in and move their hand.
This sounds just like my yoga class, actually.
Well,
we're yoga?
we're really team oriented, where Dave and I are at every single shoot, where when I'll be behind the camera, Dave will be working with the talent and he'll be making those little adjustments with them, and it's really great. When I would say one of the biggest problems in taking photos is you can't be at 3 places at one time. Having that one person there that knows the vision and knows how to work with people, that can, when you're motioning them, hey, please help, they know exactly ahead of time. I would say that's our biggest asset. We know what we're thinking at all points during a shoot, and it's 100% between a 50-50.
Yeah, it's nice. When you're shooting tethered, you can see exactly what's coming up, and Will's making adjustments, I'm making adjustments.
Or you keep that to yourselves, the tethered?
We try to. It goes kind of back and forth, because a lot of the time, like for instance, this shot with Isaiah that's up on the screen right now. If we show that to Isaiah, and we said, okay, you're going to be hanging from a car that's doing 50 miles an hour, and a guy in the cab is shooting. You're really freaked out. You know, what's your face? Obviously, we're not flagging any of this stuff on the lights because we actually want some of those light sources to be spilling because we want the natural look. We cut everything out so we don't need to shoot it on a cyc wall.
I was going to say, the leopard skin is probably not ideal for matting out, but you're just cutting it.
Well, this is we cut everything out, and this is usually when we get studio photographers looking at our work. I think we have our way of doing things. Doesn't mean it's the right way. That's the great thing about photography. There's 8 million ways to get to one instance. We just try to do the most efficient way, and we know that we don't need a cyc wall to do a shoot like this, so we can really shoot it anywhere with any kind of lights that we want.
The main point about this type of shooting is making the talent as comfortable as they can be. You know, it's not necessarily about everything that's happening in the background or anything like that, because we know that we're cutting it all out. So it's really about getting them comfortable. So in this case, we're in a studio that they had all had experience with and were comfortable with being in, and they didn't have some of those things. So it still worked out fine.
Because you work with athletes and a lot of people that aren't necessarily...
Right.
Athletes are the tough ones for sure. But that's...
Really? Why?
Well, because they aren't used to modeling a lot of the time. They don't know how to emote. And that's when we have to be proactive and say,
what's the most proactive thing that you've done to get somebody out of their shell?
Oh, well...
besides feeding them alcohol or something.
Well,
like if I have somebody with a weapon and they're not experienced and I can't pose them, I say, okay, if you're going to kill me with that weapon, how would you do it? And I want you to do it right now. But don't kill me. And running them through actions, not telling them what to do, is usually how to get the best results. So you know, you can't pose somebody.
Give me an example of running through actions versus telling.
So somebody has a sword, and you're like, okay, I want you to pose with the sword up, and like you're ready to chop my head off, and it's going to be super duper awkward. Both of us will try to get them into it by saying, okay, I want you to cut my head off with the sword in slow motion. Do it right now. And so actually getting them to perform the action, when you just say, okay, put the sword up like you're going to cut my head off, they're going to always take the baseball bat stance.
Yeah, it's being less technical and helping them put themselves in the situation. It's not move the sword 2 inches to your right and then up a hair. It's, you know, get in the baseball stance or pretend that it's resting on your back kind of a thing. You know, you just finished a long battle. Put them in the scene so they can start to get the feeling of it. I mean, that's what a lot of actors do, is they start to put themselves into the role that they're trying to play.
Absolutely. Like Zach, for instance, who's up on the screen right now. You tell a normal person, okay, you're in the driver's seat and you're shooting a shotgun up through the ceiling of the car, and you're really pissed off. You're getting mean. I want you to snarl. And I actually want you to go, yar! And so with those, when you see people gritting or yelling, they're really yelling in every single shot. We never have them just opening their mouth and making a pose.
That's actually a good
want
point
the veins
to yell.
But once again, you can't pose somebody. You have to actually have them run through the action.
Now, I noticed the light is encroaching on the barrel of the gun there. That's intentional.
Yeah, well, in this case, we weren't going to use the shotgun, so it...
Oh, you didn't care?
We didn't care on this one.
It's very awkward to actually shoot a shotgun up.
It's really tough. We've tried it.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
You needed a smaller weapon.
Yeah.
So with all of these, staying on the screen, with all these shots put together, we unite them all somehow within the shot. So, of course, when you get into Photoshop and you say, okay, I have somebody on top of the car, I have somebody hanging on for dear life on the passenger side of the car, and I have a driver shooting up through the top, it's going to be really hard to get that exact car shot that we can line up.
Right.
So in this case, this is when we'll go into the 3D world and we'll actually go in and model a car for it. And where this isn't rendered, of course, this is just in our environment. And we really only detail out the parts that we know we're going to be showing. In this, we have another shot where the car is crashed and it's up kind of on its side like that. So both of those sides are done. But we'll do a render of this, and we'll render it out a few different times just because we want it to be manageable to the point where we have a layer that has the reflection on it, we have a layer that has this light on it, a layer that has this light on it, so we can really adjust. But the thing that really sends the realism into the stratosphere, going into, for instance, I'm going to go into the layer with the car. That's the car right there. And popping in, we'll see, this layer controls the tire, this is that, yada, yada, yada. We have some that are a little bit of that shadow. We have some that are
How many years did this take you to learn? I mean, this is really
life's work.
You see how skilled
it's still learning.
Yeah, it's still learning. It never stops.
Skilled.
But that's the thing that is awesome about this. It never, ever stops. And if you ever think, like I take Socratic method on this, and knowing that true knowledge is knowing that you know absolutely nothing. And the cool thing is that we're really passionate about it, and we want to keep learning, and we have the coolest job ever. Like, what did you do today? I went sword shopping and then photoshopped people riding a car and shooting guns outside of it. Like, not a lot of people get to say that, and so of course we want to keep doing that, and we want to stay on top of our game. So it just never stops. Like right now I'm learning ZBrush personally. We have somebody that does ZBrush, but having that ability in house and everybody knowing how to do it is really important these days.
Yeah, we're not just learning ourselves. We're also teaching at the same time. So we have
you
interns.
Too,
we have interns
you have to
that
teach
come
your
on.
staff.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if
and how long are your interns on?
Yeah, really. What a great internship.
You would train them, and then
well,
our interns
it's a great thing to mention.
We actually have an internship coming up. So our interns are around for 6 months is the commitment that we ask of them, and they will learn everything from Wil, the Master Yoda, and myself.
That's great. I mean,
Yoda-ish.
Do you do that more because you want to give back, or do you actually get value out of these interns?
We eventually get value.
Yeah, the idea.
Because that's a lot of training.
Yeah.
It gives them a lot of training, but it also gets us somebody who isn't mired by their own ways of doing things or the wrong way of doing things. A lot of people are going to school, sorry schools, and they're learning the wrong way to do things, or they're not learning the fastest way to do things, or they're being given 6 weeks to complete a project that we need done in 2 hours. And so we need to take these people and not pay market rate to teach them the right way to do things. And so we're teaching them that, and the idea is at the end of that 6 months we'll have an employee that we're proud of coming out of that. If we can't
a lot of
them,
your interns end up being staff.
Absolutely.
That's our goal.
If we can't hire,
we want to mold somebody into it.
Just got out of school, or what's your target?
We have primarily worked with interns that are in school, but if somebody has the passion, the drive, they're super dorks, and they want nothing but the best, then it doesn't matter what age, who you are. We want passion.
Yeah, passion and being able to follow directions.
Yeah. So you're learning ZBrush in that's sort of like 3D Studio Max.
ZBrush has a completely different way of going about
things. But it is 3D
things.
modeling.
It's 3D modeling, but it's thinking of it in a person that would be sculpting clays.
It's more like
mindset.
sculpting.
It's sculpting. That's really what it is, where the polygons kind of disappear in the background, and you're working with Z-spheres, which are kind of like their balls of clay.
So that car you did in 3D Studio Max.
So the car, we popped out an OBJ. This was quick production where we didn't have to add textures to it. We actually did this in Cinema 4D. Which is pretty much an entry program when we're doing quick production stuff.
But it was just lines. It wasn't complicated.
It's just lines, and so you can see that there wasn't a lot of textures. This is where that texture library comes in. So I have this car layer. For people who don't see it, I actually have the car rendered out and masked out. And to really add that realism to things, just like people with skin, adding the realism to this car really comes in when we start texturing all those dents in there. So popping those on one at a time, these little scrapes that we've shot over the years, this is anything from street signs.
Ironically, the kind of thing you might do in ZBrush.
Yeah, almost, it's adding those little bits of detail. But when we take all this stuff out, the car looks super duper fake and shiny. You turn all that stuff back on,
that's how I
and it's fantastic. And not to underplay what we do, but it's amazing how fast you could take something that is just a clean, low poly model into something that is highly detailed just with adding those overlay layers. So going.
What did you do for lighting? How did you think about lighting here? Because Photoshop doesn't give you lighting sources.
No, it does not. We have to come up with the lighting all ourselves, and
keep it.
This one's interesting because there's a light source happening in here inside the cabin where Zach is firing off a gun, so it's creating its own light source. There's we kind of went with the hazy day in the city, so the light really is coming from everywhere, but a lot of the times you want to use light sources to draw the eye to certain people. That's why Isaiah's head is really picking up a lot of light from the sky, because we do want to draw the eye over to that direction.
Clever.
Yeah. I have a lot of layers turned off.
So you're steering the viewer. You're steering the viewer to Isaiah.
You got just visual cues.
Yeah. There is actually, and this is where composition and photographic skills help, because you're looking at how the eye is going to look at this.
Yep. And one thing that we try to do a lot, and this image, I guess it's an okay example of it, but I always think of compositions as being on a high wire where if you're going to weigh one side diagonally, you need to have it equal on that other side. So that's why you'll see Isaiah's kind of in one corner, Allison is up in another corner. The kind of just empty void of the car is in one, not a lot going on, and then there's the empty void of the city. So we're balancing diagonally on both sides and forming an X in our composition.
And it's very dynamic because of it. There's a lot of movement in this static picture, because I think the eye kind of does a seesaw from back and forth from Isaiah to her to Isaiah.
Yeah, and that's our hope, because those are our two heroes.
Yeah. Really great.
So,
really great.
Like we said, we switched out the hand with a hand gang. We wanted to see his hand going off, and we just that little bit of space, you wouldn't be able to see the shotgun.
Ugly ass hand. What did you do? I do not want to mess with that guy.
But we also use a lot of particles, obviously, dirt flying everywhere.
And that's synthetic dirt.
We will use both.
Yeah.
With particles.
That's not special Dave Cox dirt.
But only the finest dirt comes from Dave Cox Farms. Yeah.
So yeah, turning off some of these layers. You know, it's also thinking what kind of light is this gun giving off inside the cabin. So getting some of that stuff in there. You know, like I said, I'm sure someone could look at this and find 8 million things that they do different, all good, but we do try to figure out these things as much as possible while we're working on them, and that's kind of the fun part of it, honestly. It's
after the fact, would you give this to an intern and say, okay, challenge?
Intern challenge.
Challenge.
Your 6 months is over.
Our intern challenges have more to do with throwing knives, typically.
Most of the time, yes.
You stand there,
Exactly.
don't move, whatever you do.
Hold this apple.
Yep.
Now the number of applications just dropped dramatically.
Yeah.
I don't know. What should people do, by the way? If you said you're open to another intern, if somebody wants to.
We have an internship coming up fairly soon. So actually just contact me personally, Dave at Elevendy.com, DAVE.
If they can't spell Dave, they shouldn't really apply.
It's pretty rough, yeah.
Probably.
You know what's funny
Will
too
can
is
be confusing.
Yeah,
with the 1L.
1L'd Will.
What's funny is our last internship, we had numerous responses for it. And the first thing that I put on the listing was, if you're interested, email me. Here are the steps you need to take.
Figure it out.
And email me at this email address.
Yeah.
And I had messages from people on Facebook. How do I apply for this internship? I had text messages. How do I apply for this internship? You're not going to get it. Sorry.
Because you don't know how to follow simple
instructions.
It's instructions. It's so easy.
Yeah. We put in a simple question, too. And Alice, who ended up being our intern out of that ordeal, was one of the only ones that answered it. We asked just randomly within the text who shot first, and she put in her text, well, of course everybody knows Han shot first. What's this Greedo BS? And instantly, we just fell in love with her, and she's been amazing ever since. But it's little things like that. If you're going to be working on a composition with 1,000 layers on it, you better be paying attention to detail.
First,
Right.
Yeah.
So definitely email me, and we'll have that listing coming out, and I'll shoot it out to whoever emails me.
I think that would be an amazing internship.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. I mean, there's not a lot of bad things.
Well, you have to be the right person. I mean, you have to.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, well, so Alice recently, one of the more fun things, you know, she's a young lady, and we were shooting gladiators, and they needed to be greased up, and so
she got to grease up the gladiators.
She was our
the Vaseline
gladiator
girl.
greaser.
Yeah.
Enough said. Where do I apply?
Yeah. Live the dream. The greasy dream.
Just out of curiosity, what do you use for gladiator grease?
Vaseline.
Okay, just checking.
In this case, Vaseline and spray water, because it beads up really nice.
Makes them look nice and sweaty.
It's pretty hot. Yeah.
Anywhere I could find those images?
On my phone?
Not for a while. About 3 more months, and we can talk about that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we should show them that other shot that we did.
Yeah.
Here,
so,
Leo's excited.
Look at
him. You want to? We have Vaseline.
No, it's okay.
We can make this happen today.
We love you guys, and this show has been such a fantastic thing for photographers who really don't have an incredible amount of resources. If you love tech and you love photography, there's not a whole lot out there that kind of unites the two. So we love this show, and it being the last episode.
Oh, you're making
The last time that I'm so sorry.
Tissues,
well,
tissues.
it means a lot to me. Like as somebody who, you know, I loved the screensavers back in the day, and being able to have both of those united under the two things I love the most is really amazing. So, we decided for your last episode to do an homage using our photo shoot that we had last time, and so. This is
in the theme of, you know, what today is.
Yeah, so this is kind of the final show. So once again, like I said, you know, sometimes we shy away.
Oh my God!
Cue, it's the end of the world as we know it.
So this is the final photo shoot.
There's a meteor. That is great.
So on your wildlife expedition, shooting animals,
so cute. Isn't that great?
With a lens that would not suffice for shooting animals that far away. I'm sorry.
I love how there's a tripod hook still on the bottom.
But also and also documenting these animals with your iPad. You know, unbeknownst to you, the meteor is about to come down and wreck your whole entire safari.
Yep.
That is that's album art right there.
And don't forget, this was shot in JPEG.
Yeah.
Wait, now what's that all about?
So this was a fantastic thing that Lightroom did to us. You'd think that professionals like us would have saw this coming, but we had some issues with the laptop and tethering last time. There was a Mac laptop set up for us to plug into. We popped our camera in there with all of our settings for RAW mode on there, and Lightroom had some kind of strange default setting on that and kicked all the settings to JPEG, and it was great. Had no idea.
Wouldn't have happened on Windows, I could tell you right now.
Yeah, you know what?
So what you're saying is we can't use this as a building wrap.
Not in its current form.
We actually did a lot of overpaint, so you could go pretty close in.
I expect this to be up next time.
Could you?
But definitely killer wallpaper.
I want a copy of that. That is the best thing I ever saw.
But yes, the last shoot for the last show.
That is really great. Wow, you can go back. I don't know what episode number. I'll find out before the end of the show.
Well, we also have another.
Because you should watch the episode with us shooting this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. That's episode 50.
50.
Yeah, I remember because
on it.
Number.
Yeah.
Excellent.
The other thing we have for you, aside from the picture, I told you we have two surprises. That was one.
I didn't think
and the other one, come on over. We have parting gifts for you guys.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
For you, sir, Mr. Leo.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
And Catherine.
Holy cow, look at that.
Wow.
It's an Elevendy sword. You guys are really too kind. E-L-E-V-E-N.
Oh my
Can you see
gosh,
that?
that's amazing.
It says TWiT on it. E-L-E-V-E-N-D-Y.
Yes, because it's true.
Hearts TWiT.
Oh
That's always, we always try to leave weapons behind places that we
much as we
visit.
can.
I need an intern.
Gracious hosts.
So you say not like a baseball
So you
bat.
said, yeah.
Those are hand etched. I actually did
These are
that
beautiful.
yesterday.
Thank you.
Real
Dave
pencil
actually
etching.
etched those. He's not joking.
You have a laser etcher?
Through the power
Is
of
there an
YouTube.
11?
We usually do laser etching, but these are curved, so he had to do it by hand with an acid.
I actually masked it out.
What don't you guys
You
do?
did this with acid?
Oh yeah, acid and a battery charger, some vinegar and salt.
Do not lick it.
Thank you, Internet.
The internet explained how.
YouTube told me how to do it.
Wow, that is spectacular. Thank you so
But I think we can speak for everybody in the community, everybody in the chat room right now, that we all appreciate you guys so much.
Big time.
And
Thank you.
It's been an amazing
We appreciate
run,
you.
and
Thank
we're
you.
looking forward to the future.
Thank you, Dave and Will. And and once again, Catherine is going to keep doing the show, not on our network, I'm sorry to say, but on the internet.
On
you
the
know,
interwebs.
from the point of view of the internet, it really doesn't matter where you produce it or go. You can get, it's going to be called Photography Unfiltered. You can subscribe now on iTunes.
This is so cool. This is going to go in my new space.
Isn't that cool? How come
Yeah.
she gets a scabbard? I just have to go with a bare blade.
Because
Yours
Hey,
is
you
gonna-
have a point cover.
Yeah.
Yours is going to be
cover.
killing more people.
Stick him with the pointy end.
I don't have time to pull it.
Yours is ready to be hung on your wall right now.
So I love the name, Photography Unfiltered, and you can go to Catherine's website, also catherinehall.net, to find out more about that, or photography-unfiltered.com. Elevendy.com is the place to go to find out about Dave and Will's amazing work. And boy, I tell you, if I were in the business where I needed key art, this is it. You are the guys.
Hands down.
Oh, heck.
Yeah.
You are the guys.
Why, thank you.
Wow.
Or
In
if I had
fact,
an unlimited budget just to have awesome pictures of me,
I-
you guys are the guys.
I'm telling you, Nerdist is lucky. That's awesome. So are the Sacramento Kings. There's Isaiah. Great stuff. Elevendy.com. Elevendy.com.
Yep.
Thank you, Dave.
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys.
Oh, wait,
Yeah,
before we close, I have one question.
Yikes.
It's kind of off topic,
Virgo.
but
She wants an internship.
Long walks on the beach.
now that I'm out of TWiT, you know, I've got to look to the future. No, we had Arnie Freitag on for, you know, the Playboy photographer back a couple episodes ago, and he said they did very limited retouching with Playboy.
Yeah.
However, I know that you retouched for Playboy.
Oh man, we're bringing this up.
Yes, we are.
Yes.
We are going down the road.
Okay.
Is that where you honed
Both are true.
your Vaseline
Okay,
skills?
when you say Playboy, you need I did not do photoshopping for Playboy Actual. I photoshopped for Playboy Online.
Well, that's a big difference.
Oh, so
Yes,
Yeah,
the user
not-
submitted.
is that a little more
so
scandalous? Is there a little more
not
Vaseline?
as cool. You know, it's
Homespun.
everybody. If it's ever been mentioned to anybody that I've done any work with Playboy, they go, "Oh, I bet that was cool." No, it was not cool. It was not cool. You see horrible things, and you see horrible
When
things,
you
so
say-
others don't have to.
When you say heel brush,
So others don't.
you mean it.
It ruins the experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, lightning
Yeah.
bolts everywhere in
Yeah.
my dreams.
So is the
A lot
magazine?
of tat removal.
Well, I was a lot of lightning
was your
bolts, like the tattoo removal, varicose vein removal,
Stretch marks.
C-section removal.
Oh, wow.
So, like I said, totally not as
Unevenness.
sexy as you think it would be.
Yeah.
But these were amateurs. These weren't professionals.
Absolutely, yeah. That's why it's like I said.
That
so
was-
not
But is
as
there a
cool
lot
as
of
the magazine.
retouching?
That's not
Evidently.
fair
Depending on
because
the
Arnie,
department.
Evidently.
On the
Arnie
web.
was
Compared to this, not at
Arnie
all.
was shooting
No.
with view camera, with perfect studio,
Yeah.
perfect models
For the magazine,
view
they were not,
cameras
yeah.
for magazines, and I could believe that they didn't need to.
Right.
On the other hand, this is
happens.
like
In
an
this situation-
Instamatic
This
and
is
some
hometown
guy
hotties,
in a
I mean.
trailer.
Hometown.
It's-
You know, it's-
yeah.
You know, honestly, nobody's perfect, and if you have a little bit of notoriety, and it's your notoriety that's getting you into
Right.
the photo shoot, and not necessarily your
Right.
absolutely perfect body, then there's gonna
Trust
be some
me.
stuff to
Right.
heal.
Very little retouching was done on this body. I could just tell you right now. Look at that.
Spare it no expense.
You guys are the best.
Yeah,
that is
thank
so
you so much
awesome.
for being on our grand
Our
finale.
last show, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. All I can say, Elevendy.com. And Dave and Will, thank you. It's really been great seeing you
Absolutely.
again and having you
Always
back.
fun.
And we'll have you back on Photography Unfiltered.
Yeah,
Yay.
see?
Yes.
See?
There you
And
go.
then you won't have me to mess with. So, Catherine, it's been a real thrill. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you for a great year. 60-some episodes, 66 episodes.
Yes.
All of which will stay online and always available at twit.tv/photo. And the nice thing about this show is they are, timeless. All of these episodes
yeah,
live forever.
definitely.
So I think you have created a great body of work.
We have
to be
created a
very
great
proud
body
of
of
and
work.
really great stuff. And I'm only sorry that we can't keep doing it here at TWiT.
Well, we got a good year.
It's a
It's
great
not like
year.
we had a couple months. We had a year.
And you will continue on with Photography
Yes, I will.
Unfiltered. So thank you, everybody, for joining us in this time slot starting next week. It'll be, that's almost embarrassing to say, the Daily Gizwiz show.
What's the daily?
Oh, it's Gizwiz.
The Giz, yes, that's how you pronounce it. And don't you forget it.
Will's lips shaking a little bit.
The Gizwiz show, actually, Dick will be in studio, but that really is starting to sound worse.
This is going down a
We're
bad
digging.
path.
Dick will be
Deeper
in studio.
and
We'll be
deeper.
doing the show live because it'll be our 1-year anniversary of moving into the Brick House Studios on the 24th.
Oh, wow.
So,
That's cool.
So we're going to do a live show. You're invited, in fact, come because we're going to have a sheet cake.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that'll be nice. And maybe some ginger ale. So thank you.
If it wasn't already your last show, it's definitely our last show now.
Yeah. Everybody can have a glass of ginger ale. That's just one. And thank y'all very much for being here. We'll see you on the road, on the internets, photography-unfiltered.com.
Leo, are you going to come on as a guest?
Sure, if you'll have me. Can I bring my sword?
Yes, you may. You must.
I
It's
might
a
need it.
requirement.
Thanks. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. I don't know.
Is there an 11?
She's still working. Right?
She's an angel.
Is there an 11 hidden in ours?
Maybe.
It is.
Where is it?
It's very large.
Where? Okay. Oh, go back. Let's see. Go to the. Oh, or we can go to my website.
There you
There
go.
it is.
You can see it here.
Definitely can't miss it.
Wait a minute. I don't see it. Now, that's what we should mention. They always put Elevendy. Is it on our boob?
We're usually not.
We had to
say,
fight the
You
urge.
don't have to have an excuse.
I was going to say, what's the most awesome
I'm
place
looking
that you could put an
closely.
11 at on
That's
this
where I
photo?
zoomed into
I'm
immediately.
looking
when I was trying to
closely,
find it.
yeah. I don't see it. Oh, maybe it's on my sleeve. There it is. It's on my sleeve, isn't it?
Nope.
No?
Oh, nice. Look at this technology.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
nice slow pan.
Nice.
Brings it to life.
operating there.
There's a TWiT logo there. That was on the other side of your shirt, by the way.
Yeah, I like that. Nice touch on that one.
It's not my eyebrows.
Zoom in, enhance.
Enhance. Zoom in, enhance.
You need to look into his soul. Wait,
Is it
keep
wait,
going.
Go back to the lens. Go back to the lens. Go back to the lens.
Wow. I love.
Does it say
thank you,
Elevendy on
thank
the
you,
lens?
Padre. You totally got it.
Padre SJ's got this.
What did he say?
Padre caught it.
The meteor. It's in the meteor.
Oh,
Let's
You
see.
can't
our chat
unsee
room
it.
is so awesome.
Big burnt 11.
Oh, yeah.
Can't be
Wow.
totally obvious.